Welcome to How I Made It Through, another recording of How I Made It Through. I hope everybody's doing really well today. It is a beautiful day out here where I am. I'd like to welcome today Chenee Fournier, who is an energy intuitive, evidence-based spiritual medium, angel and spirit guide, channel, a facilitator of GRAND Attunements, and an intuition and spiritual mentor. She considers what she does to be a form of translation between the realms, the seen and the unseen, the tangible and intangible, the mundane and the mystical. She is passionate about living the highest expression of herself, channeling divine love into the world. So, welcome, Chenee. I'm so happy that you are here.
Thank you, Bernadette. I have been looking forward to this for so long, so I'm just grateful to get to share space with you.
Yeah. What is amazing, I think, is when I first learned a little bit about you, and the first time that we talked, is that I share so much of the same uh, understanding of the spiritual world and of our connection with it and of what spirit really wants us to teach the world. And you are an amazing teacher, and I'm so grateful that I get to share you with my audience.
Thank you.
So, where would you like to begin? We were talking a little bit about the angels before we got on, but I'm going to let you, if that's a good place, or if there's somewhere else you'd like to start. I would just love to hear, for you to share um, your feelings about our spiritual lives.
One of the things that I really love to always just bring forth and put front and center is that the more and more and more that I have been able to tap into the spiritual nature of life, the more that I've realized there is nothing but love, there is nothing but spirit, there is nothing but God, but grace, but source, whatever words work for people. So whatever words I use, there's always no dogma behind them. But the more that I tap into that side of my life, the stronger that side of my life becomes. It's like any other thing that we work out on or we focus on. What we give our focus to comes more and more front and center in our life. So the more and more that I came to recognize that I have angels and spirit guides all around me, always guiding me, the more magical and mystical my life became from the outside looking in. So for me, I have been able to sense spirit all the way back from early childhood. And in fact, I don't really remember a time when I wasn't able to sense spirit. And that has always made me feel very comfortable. I also learned that my mom can sense spirit. She can smell fragrances from spirit, as can I. She has clairvoyance, so she can see into the spirit world, as can I. And one of the things that I've really learned from that is the more and more and more that I put effort into seeing into the spirit world and bringing that information forth, the more that they are loud. So your angels are as loud as you are willing to listen. The angels are right there guiding us, also honoring the fact that we have free will. So
Mhm.
they are doing what I like to call entraining us. So from what I've been shown, you have this beautiful source energy that flows as our very own unique tributaries just for each one of us individually as an individuated expression of source. So we have that flowing through us, and then it comes through our angels who are able to step it down a bit because it's very powerful energy. And then it flows through our beautiful soul, and our soul and our angels step it down just a bit more before it flows into the human spirit and the human form so that it's not overwhelming. So each and every day, one of the things I start out doing is waking up and thanking spirit, thanking source for my beautiful life, and then thanking my angels and spirit guides for choosing me, because I don't believe that our angels are assigned to us. I believe that they choose us. And they choose us because they love us and they want the best for us. And so every day we are being entrained to the highest version of ourselves. I have just so many stories of times where angels have rescued me from situations that I got myself into from using free will, but maybe not using it the most wise way possible. So I love that the angels also have a sense of humor. There's
Mhm.
never a sense of, "Oh my gosh, she's done something stupid again. Let's save her." It's more like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's offer her this opportunity or this way out." I've had my angels even manifest into physical form and
Wow.
show up for me and save me. And one of the really powerful stories, well, one is a very short, powerful story, and one's a little bit longer. But when I was in my probably early 20s, I was driving on a dark, curvy road one night with a friend, and I was driving her car, and it was one of those Volkswagen Bugs. So they don't have an engine up front, they just have a cargo space up there. And they're kind of a flimsy car, a little bit, not super solid. And so driving along this dark, curvy two-lane road, probably 2 in the morning, and all of a sudden, I just got this intuition, slow down. And so I probably slowed down to about 10 to 15 miles per hour. And my friend asked me, "What are you doing? Why are you slowing down?" I said, "I don't know, but I just have this intuition to do so." As soon as we got around the backside of a curve, there was this beautiful male deer standing right in the center of this two-lane road with the big, beautiful antlers and everything. If I had been coming around that corner 35, 40, 45 miles per hour, we would have hit the deer. It would have come right up over that hood into the windshield, and then we would have been a disabled car in an accident on the backside of a curve. So probably somebody else would have come along and hit us, and it just would have been this horrible scene for everyone involved, including the deer. So come around the corner, see this beautiful deer standing there, and I just quietly was thankful that, like, oh my goodness, this is why I knew to slow down. So, flashed the headlights at the deer and got the deer to go off to the side of the road. So not only did I save myself and my friend from the accident, I saved the deer, and now the deer was off to the side of the road. So hopefully it stayed off the side of the road for the rest of the night. And then not that many years later, I was 27, and I met someone who I eventually got into a relationship with. And we shared a similar story in that he had been in a car accident where the driver had died. Back when I was only 18, a dear friend of mine died in a car accident. So, we kind of shared that in common, but neither one of us really talked a whole lot about it. And about a year into our relationship, we had been performing because we were in a band at that time together. We had been performing on New Year's Eve. It was probably 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and we were trying to stay the night at a friend's house who was also in the band, but he and his partner were arguing loudly. And so my partner at the time said, "Well, why don't we just drive home?" And I'm like, "Well, it's about an hour and a half to get home. We're going to be on dark, curvy roads. It's a night like this when my friend was in his car accident and died." And this must have been the first time that I had used my friend's full name, because my partner at the time said, "What did you say your friend's name was?" And I repeated myself. And he said, "That accident that I was in where the driver died, that was the driver." So 10 years had transpired between my friend's physical death in the car accident and me meeting this partner who I was with at the time. And so I just remember looking at him and thinking, "What do you mean that was the driver of the accident that you were in?" My brain couldn't make sense of that. And my first thought was, "Are you pranking me? What a weird thing to prank me." And he goes, "No, no, that was the driver of the car accident that I was in." So for the next hour, I talked to him about it, what my friend's last night of life on this physical earth was like. He was in a great place in life. He was happy, everything was going well. And so then I said to my partner at that time, "You know what then? I know that this is a sign. We're not meant to be on the road. We're
Mhm.
not meant to drive tonight," because we've been together for a full year and even living together. And we just now made this connection that that was the same car accident.
Yes.
So, not that I'm saying that Paul was an angel, but I don't usually use names, but I kind of let
Yeah.
that slip out. But there's a lot of Pauls in the world. I just like to always grant people their right to privacy. But maybe he is an angel. I don't know, because I do believe that people who've been here physically, and all beings that have been here physically, even our dogs, our cats, our household pets, can be angels in the everlife, the afterlife, in the spirit world. But I do believe that whether Paul was an angel or just there in spirit, he made sure that we made that connection that night so that we did not get on the road, because there probably would have been an accident. It was New Year's Eve at 1:30 or 2 with people drinking and driving, unfortunately, like they do on holidays. So, I mean, I just have story after story after story. And every single time something like this has happened throughout my life, it bursts me wide open even just a little bit further,
Mhm.
but incrementally, because I've also told my angels, okay, look, I know that source energy is incredibly powerful, and I love that. But I also know that in this physical form, there's only so much energy a physical form can run through this form and not be kind of like burst open too wide. So my angels know, open me up incrementally, but continuously. So for me, every single day is an opportunity to ascend higher into higher states of consciousness, to become even more aware of divinity. And I believe that part of the reasons why I am here, just as many others are, is to help merge and blend earth and heaven so that we
Mhm.
truly can have that new earth that is heavenly. And my angels are right here with me every day, cheering me on and doing things for me and with me that I realize, wow, oh my gosh, this life right here can be really, truly beautiful if we all just set our intention for it to be so. So I am just so in love and trusting of all of the worlds merging. And I'm just so grateful for the angels that guide me through it all.
And that's just amazing. I've been enthralled the entire time.
Oh, thank you.
I have so many synchronicities with you in this journey that you've been on. I completely understand how just what you were just talking about, how they want to share so much with us. I have a guide that is with me all the time, and it has to come in slowly because, as you said, we're only able to handle so much. And those few times that a little bit too much comes in, you feel that actually my crown chakra just lit up as I said
Uh-huh.
that. That was a confirmation that yes. So, what I was thinking about as you mentioned that as a child that you had these. When did you begin to know that this was your path? That this was something that this was more than just a gift that was. Something on the side, but that this was your path and that you knew you were supposed to share this and it was your journey to help others open to this.
That's hard to pinpoint an exact age or date. What I can say is that from a very young person on forward, I knew that I was meant to do something in this world to help make it kinder and gentler. So when I very first got out of college, I started working for nonprofits. And I spent
Mhm.
many years working in nonprofits where focused on gun violence prevention, healthcare without harm, animal rights, and then got into working with foster youth. Worked for an organization for a while providing lawyers for foster youth in the foster care system. Then
Mm.
eventually worked my way into working with organizations that were helping Tibetans seek political asylum, have autonomy. So I really worked my way through a lot of different organizations and all along volunteer with organizations that work for animal rights and animals being treated with love and respect. And then at a certain point, I thought, okay, that is starting to feel too big picture.
Mhm.
And I found my way to energy healing. So all along, my life has always been spiritually oriented and spiritually guided. And so for me, my service in this world was to try to make it better, kinder, more gentler, more equitable through the nonprofits. And then at a certain point, I just kind of got exhausted by the nonprofit work because it is so big picture. And
Mhm.
oftentimes you work really hard for nonprofits, and at least the ones I worked for, every year the grants have to get renewed. So every year you don't know if you have a job the next year, and you almost always have to live in or near a big city, but you're not going to get paid big city money. So I'm not in any way or shape trying to dissuade people from doing nonprofit work, but that's why there was just this natural progression of, I'm feeling called now to do something a little bit more one on one, a little bit more where I'm really tapping into the spirit world. So I started learning Reiki, went through all the different classes and became certified at the master level of Reiki. And then I immediately started volunteering Reiki. For 4 years, I volunteered Reiki with hospice patients. And
Mhm.
then I also learned that we could sit vigil with hospice patients as they were making their transition. So I was on the team that sat vigil with people making their transition. And then I started also volunteering my services with animal rescue organizations and organizations that do equine facilitated therapy. And
Mhm.
then, wow, things just really blew open really wide for me. And then I started doing crystal fairs where you'll go to like those New
Mhm.
Earth kind of expos, and I would just see people like, well, gosh, one time, like, there were 3 days in a row and they were 10-hour days. And there would be like person after person after person receiving Reiki from me on my massage table. And I would just get so many intuitive hits and so much information coming through. And then I started realizing, wow, I can really see into this other dimensional world just as clearly as I can see in this three-dimensional world. And I didn't want to just do silent healing anymore. I didn't want to just do Reiki and laying hands on people or even distant Reiki. It's very silent. So then what evolved through me was something called spoken word energy healing. So I would connect with people online and would speak the energy healing session. And then from there, it evolved into what's called grand attunements. And for me, grand stands for the gift of remembering our angelic nature and divinity. And when I do those sessions with people, I can see the change. I feel the change in them even before I see it. It's really interesting because the way that I work in the spirit world, I feel things, and then, like, very quickly after I see things, and then I hear things and I smell things. So sometimes it's even hard to suss out which happens first, but I think very frequently it's the clairsentience that will happen first.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's why, and because I've been able to sense spirit all the way back from early childhood, it's really hard to really say when I felt called the most to utilize that, because I don't know if you've ever heard that saying, but take your meditation off of the cushion. So for me, then it was like, okay, take your prayer out of the building. Like,
Yeah.
my whole life is my prayer, my whole life is my service, my whole life is my offering. But yeah,
Yes.
at a certain point, it just became evident of what was weaving through me and what was being woven by me and being co-created by me was, okay, it's time to step out now and really go forth and work with others this way. I'm introverted. By
Mhm.
nature, I would be one of those ones in school where you had to speak out, and I would start looking at things and fumbling around like, oh, please don't call on me. I do not want to be the one to speak out. But when I started working with clients this way, or sitting in circles, healing circles where we
Yeah.
all come together, and people would say, okay, who wants to speak first? I would find myself raising my hand, and then of course my face goes beet red because, oh my gosh, everyone's looking at me. And then I just had to learn, okay, but you know what, it's not just you that's speaking this through, it's the angels, it's the
Yes.
spirit guides, it's the beings in spirit, the ancestors of the light, ultimately it's source. So
Yes.
then I just started thinking, okay, well, then reach out to others, get onto podcasts. Just like you, I've been a speaker at IANS.
Mhm.
And I love that you're going to be in the one in Chicago coming up. I won't be there, but I'm just so in love with the fact that you're going to be there. So I love those kinds of opportunities. And so I'm finding myself now just really being drawn to just allow myself to be utilized as a channel to speak through
Mhm.
what wants to be heard.
Yeah, it is. I think for all of us, Spirit is really working through us right now to bring this. There is a shift, I believe, and I believe that we are part of it. And as you were talking about how Spirit led you along this journey through working through the nonprofits, my journey was working with students that had trauma and grief, and then I started working in elder care management and worked. I have my end of life doula certification, and so a little bit of our crossover where
Mhm.
but also not expecting that this is the work that I would be doing. And as my husband passed away and I went through the trauma of his passing, um, that's when Spirit finally said, okay, this is what we want you to do. And I think it is such a beautiful, it's so fascinating to see how Spirit worked through you from a young child. And allowing you, and I came from a large family, so I was forced to be an extrovert, even though I
Mm,
feel very introverted. I had to speak up, but I think that's such a beautiful part of your story is that I feel Spirit speaking through me and knowing that they are wanting me to talk more, and that you have had that same experience. I
right.
think I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, has it been? If there's one area of the work that you do, is there one area that you feel more called towards, or that clients want, that they come to you for? Or how do you work with, if somebody comes to you and says, I want to work with you, how do you offer that for them?
I see all of my clients online, and which allows me to reach people all over the world, which is really beautiful. I've had clients just all over the place, which is lovely. Um, I started out doing the energy healing. That morphed into mediumship readings. That morphed into adding angel and spirit guide channeled readings to that. And so I love all of it. And then that morphed into the grand attunements. And I guess I really shouldn't say morphed into, but I just allowed spirit to let me know what should I offer the clients, what is going to be the most helpful in healing. And so throughout all of that, I've learned that I am incredibly comfortable. I've always known, so I guess I shouldn't say I've learned, but I've always known that I'm incredibly comfortable tapping into the spirit world, because what I've been shown is there is absolutely nothing in the spirit world to be afraid of. Some
Mm,
people will teach, oh, there's negative entities, or if the person was a rude person on earth, they're rude in spirit. I've been shown, no, that's not the truth at all. There are no negative entities. Um, Basically, what I've been shown is we are a soul who comes into this human form. We create this beautiful field of energy around us. So for me, the soul is an acronym that just stands
mhm,
for Source of Unified Love or Space of Unified Love. So it's this
mhm,
beautiful field that is created, and internally inside that field coalesces a physical form. That can be animals, trees,
mhm,
anything in the natural world, humans, everything. And then that beautiful soul holds our form in integrity. And
mhm,
then while we're growing in utero, we have a human spirit, which is also divine, but it does have free will. So I've just been shown we're this amalgamation of all these things: human spirit, physical form, light body, energy body, soul. And the soul is just always, always mostly in the spirit world, with
mhm,
only a small percentage of it focused here, but a big enough percentage to hold life and to be life. So the soul, thankfully, is indestructible. The
mhm,
soul also is never what is guiding harmful behavior. The soul is always in training us and calling us to
mhm,
be the best and highest version of ourselves. But because
mhm,
we have a human spirit and because we have free will, some people choose, through whatever reason, to not do good work in this world. But
mhm,
even they have a soul and angels that are always, always trying to
mhm,
entrain them to the highest version of themselves. So, what I've
mhm,
been shown very clearly is source energy is flowing to us all equally, all evenly. And then it flows through our angels. So when we are doing good work in this world, the tap to source is wide open and
yeah,
more energy is flowing through us. When we're doing things in this world that are harmful and hurtful, that tap is minimized so that the energy that's flowing through us doesn't give us enough energy and power, or it gives us energy and power, but it's not as strong of energy and power as if we're doing good work. So I think it takes way more effort to do harm in this world than to do good in this world. And then the angels are never judging us. They're
yeah,
always, always flowing to us the right energy to do good in this world and always encouraging us to do good. And when they see that we're using our free will to do good work in this world and really trying our best and really just trying to do what is right and loving and kind in this world, like I said, the tap is wide open. And so the way that I see that is powerful about that is that even if this energy is free flowing to us all equally, we do have safety hatches in place that minimize the harm and
Oh,
amplify the good. And that's incredibly powerful. And
can I
so,
pause you for 1 second?
sure.
I just realized that my computer is low on, and I didn't realize it wasn't
Yes.
plugged in. So 1 second.
Okay, sure, sure.
I figured it was better to interrupt than to have our screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Well,
yeah.
and what I love about that is sometimes that happens when spirit really wants there to be an exclamation point on this, like really amplify what's being
Oh,
said
great.
right here. Yeah.
Mm.
So, what I've been shown just very clearly is that it is never the soul doing harm in this world. When we go through a life review, the soul doesn't need to be cleansed and cleared. It's the human spirit going through the life review. Everything in that life review cleanses and clears everything. It amplifies the good and it completely disempowers the bad. It disempowers anything negative. So, I believe that once we then, so we've had the life review, and now the human spirit or the animal spirit or the tree spirit, whatever, reunifies with that larger part of ourself called our soul. And then now the soul 100% is back in the spirit world. So for me, the reason why I point all of that out is because once we're no longer here in physical form and we're now pure spirit, we're pure soul, and we're in the spirit world, there's nothing there's nothing to be afraid of. There
Mm,
aren't people in the spirit world trying to cause problems. That wouldn't be possible because I believe in the inherent goodness of all of
mhm.
creation, including the spirit world, the everlife, the afterlife, heaven, doesn't matter what words are used. So what I've just been shown very clearly, absolutely nothing to fear. There are things to fear in the physical world, obviously, but there's nothing to fear in the spirit world. So I've kind of lost track of what the original question was, but I just am going to trust that that's what wanted to come through.
Yeah. Well, what I love, actually, I really love that you're talking about that. Um, there's a couple of things that were amazing that have really been a part of my journey as well. One, I want to share that my husband, when he suffered from alcoholism,
Mm,
which is a disease.
right.
He had a beautiful soul, and his soul would rise. We had a deep connection with each other,
Mhm.
and through the illness, and the alcohol changed him. So there were definitely, he didn't always act like himself, but when that soul would rise, he would always say, I'm so grateful for what you're trying
Mm,
to do to help me, so there was always this. You could see the center, like I knew it was there.
right.
And I think that when he crossed, I was almost grateful for him because it had really taken his body away from him.
Right.
And so but I just wanted to emphasize just what you had said, that, here in this world, you can really even see that. And I could see it
Right.
so much in him. And then the other part is what people don't, I think, realize, what you just talked about, is the spirit, the soul in nature,
Right.
that it is so much more a part of us than anybody realizes, and how much it interacts with us,
Hmm.
and that we don't notice, whether it's an animal or a bird, whether it's a tree. I mean, it truly, we're having an interaction with them, and it is something that, it's almost something that needs to be taught. It,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I think what it is, it needs to be remembered because
Yes.
I don't know if you were like this as a child, but it's so easy to talk to trees and to,
Yes.
put your hands on the water and feel it and to talk to it. So I think that we come in born knowing this, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I love the fact that I can be in nature. And what I used to do many years ago at a lake that I lived nearby is I would take people to the lake and we would do energy healing meditations at the lake. And at the end of it, I would have us go down and place our hands on the water and just invite people to feel what that feels like. When you interact with water as a living, sentient being
Yeah.
itself, you place your hand on the water, you could feel the resistance coming up to meet you. And I don't mean resistance like it was resisting, but you felt the power of the water. And it actually took some energy to then have your hand sink into the water. And one of the times when I was out at the lake talking about interacting with nature, I was sitting in meditation, and all of a sudden, off to I think it was my right hand side, I saw this beautiful orb appear,
Mhm.
and I felt discombobulated. How we were talking earlier about just the power of the energy that comes
Yes.
through can be overpowering at times. And so I thought, am I dehydrated? Did I not eat enough today? What's going on? I feel really, almost like a sense of vertigo. And then it dawned on me it's probably coming from this orb. And so I stood up and walked a little bit further away from the orb, and sure enough, my quote unquote normal feeling came back of being in physical form. And because
Mm.
I love testing things, I'm very analytical as well as creative. I went and stood near the orb again, and sure enough, I felt that sort of vertigo feeling. And it was
Mhm.
just really beautiful how it just hovered there.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was going to get sucked into it or anything. I just felt like it wanted to observe me and wanted to let me know it was there, kind of like a
Mhm.
portal into a different kind of dimension. I've
Mhm.
also had, in my own home, I've had, I don't know if you're familiar with what that form is called, a stellated dodecahedron. It is just this beautiful, like multi-pointed star is the best way to describe it.
Yes.
And I remember standing in my room, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this thing hovering above the ground. And I'm sure just like you, all of us have had those experiences where we see something out of the corner of our eye. And then when we turn to look at it, it seems to dissipate or it's not there. And then we turn to look again and we can still see it out of the corner of our eye. But when I turned to look at it, it was still there. And it was hovering above the ground by about an inch or two. And I looked away again and looked back and it was still there. And so then now what I've learned to do when things like that happen is ask, what message wants to come through right now?
Ah.
What
Mm.
is it that a being in spirit is trying to convey to me right now? And it's really beautiful because even as I'm saying that to you right now, I'm having a hot flash go through my
Yeah,
body.
yeah.
And so so to me, that spirit, once again, putting an exclamation point onto something that I say, which is when we have these beautiful things happen,
Mhm.
whether they're in nature or inside of our home, because our homes are built on top of nature. They're
Right.
built on land that has a sentience. They're
Mhm.
built with materials that have a sentience. So whenever we can notice these things happen, the best thing we can do, first off, is thank it. Thank you for this
Yeah.
message. And then be open. Okay, what is this message? What is it that I'm supposed to learn from this? What message wants to come through me? Or are you just popping in and saying hello? So when we see angel numbers show up or repeating numbers, or we hear a song that reminds us of our loved one, is to stop and say, oh, first off, thank you. And
Mhm.
second off, okay, what? What do you want me to learn from this? And so with nature, almost every day I go walk at that lake that I live near.
Mm.
And I always start out each walk setting an intention of who would I like to be blessed by this? What experiences would I like to share with others? And I always use myself as a conduit to really be bathed by nature and for
Mhm.
nature spirits and angels to walk with me, to talk with me. And then I hold the intention that that's what I place into the field of collective awareness,
Oh.
because there's so much fear right now in the world, and that's being
Mhm.
placed into the collective awareness, right? And then people are pulling from that and feeling fear and anxiety and not even being sure why. So I like to try to counterbalance that by placing love and serenity and beauty into that collective field, because I believe that all that is good and loving and kind and beautiful and serene and comforting and calming, that way overpowers and counteracts all of the fear that can be placed in there by people. And fear is not a thing, it's not a force, but it is a collective of emotions
Yeah.
that can feel like it's a field. But like anything else, you can ignore it if you don't want to feel that fear. But when the pandemic set in 2020, I started noticing, oh, okay, I'm feeling a lot of energy that's not mine.
Yeah.
I'm not an anxious person, but I was feeling it. And then very quickly I heard, oh, you're being invited to alchemize this. You don't have to let it run through you. So I didn't let it run through me, but I
Mhm.
became aware of it. And then I held the intention to radiate so much light that
Mm.
anytime I would interact with somebody or a memory or an energy that somebody else was exuding of fear, that that would just kind of meet the light, be transformed into the light, and then reflect back to them as light. So I think it's just really powerful that everything that we need to be healthy and happy is all around us, and we were born into it. It's the natural world, and it's the natural world of the metaphysical spectrum that a lot of people cannot see with their eyes, but can
Right.
feel, or can see with their eyes, but maybe have kind of turned that off.
Well, what is so interesting is, as somebody who didn't have this as a child. I mean, I had some experiences, but not really having this spiritual connection. So I've come to it later in my life, and I think the beauty of of who you are is that this is so much more natural for you, and that for some of us, and myself included, as I continue to open up,
Mhm.
that allowing the naturalness of it, and not staying in the heaviness. I feel like, and I'm curious what you would say, I feel like there is a 3D heaviness that some of us sit in, and that because I know the feeling, what you described, when I'm in that spiritual space, and that I've learned what that space is, but even myself sometimes find myself, back trudging a little bit, if it's been a tough day. And it is, what I feel about you, and Spirit is also sharing this with me, is that you are able to embody this uh, all the time, that you are able to stay in this space, that this spiritual space, uh, that which is where we all want to be. So you are like this beautiful example of someone who's actually able to live in this space.
Thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
It does make sense. However, I would also say it's something that I have put effort into over the years. Because, like a lot of teenagers in my teenage years, very angsty, right? Just
Yeah,
like listening to punk music and just angry, just
yeah.
not at all pleased with the world, sort of a thing. And I think that that's kind of normal. I mean, not that that happens in every culture, but I, over the course of years, started studying about all kinds of spiritual traditions and
Mhm,
going to meditation retreats and just learning about different philosophies.
mhm.
And because
Yes.
even way far back when I was a child, I used to wonder about eternity. I don't remember how old I was when I had that. I was very young. And I remember kind of freaking myself out about that. Like, okay, well, whether you are eternally unhappy, which now I know that's not even possible, but whether you're eternally unhappy or eternally happy, that's a really long time. And I would freak myself out. So I'd have to quit thinking about it. And so, yeah, I went through my phases of just being very angry. And over the course of time, I just started recognizing from all of the books that I've read and all of the teachers that I've listened to and all of the retreats that I've gone to, really it's what we focus on. So if we focus on the negative and we listen to the news and we let people complain to us and we listen to people's gossip, it pulls our energy down. And then it's a lot harder to bob back up to the surface, where I think all of us, that's our natural equilibrium, is the surface of everything. And so it's interesting because people can say you're very deep. Talk about each other and say, well, we're very deep. So yeah, we're very deep in going inward and
Yes.
withdrawing from our own selves, our spirit. But then when we allow ourselves to
Mhm.
rise to the surface, it brings us up into higher echelons of spiritual consciousness, of consciousness in general.
Mhm.
So I have had to put effort into being positive. And I'm human as well as spirit, as well as soul, as well as divine. So yeah, I can have my days where I'll be grumpy about something. Oftentimes it's grumpy about the way that animals are treated or children are treated, or
Mhm.
people go through life unconscious about their decisions and do
Yeah,
things that hurt each other. That's much more so what can pull my energy down.
right.
So then I just have to learn, okay, but remember, focus on the light, focus on the good. Know that inside of every single person, no matter how they're behaving in this world, there is the divine spark in every single one of us. And
Yes.
not that long ago, when I was shopping somewhere, it was just the most beautiful thing that happened. I was walking through the parking lot and I was holding the intention, like I often do. May I be a vortex of light. May I be a vortex of love. May I draw into this environment an abundance of life force energy, and may it be shared with everyone. So I get into the store, I grab the shopping cart, and I'm starting to notice, wow, okay, why am I feeling these little micro shocks on my hands? So then
Mhm.
I'm like trying to hold on to just the plastic part of the shopping cart. And then I put my sweater over my hands to hold on to it. And then I started thinking, okay, what did I do differently? And I thought, oh, you know what? I asked for an abundance of divine life force energy to flow through me. And I didn't say, that I would like for it to be attuned perfectly for me. And so I've grandfathered that phrase in now, so I don't have to keep saying that all the time. And so right there, I stood very quietly, and so that I didn't look like I was just having an episode in public or something, um,
Right.
I I think what I did was I either grabbed my I don't think I had my phone on me. I grabbed something off of the shelf and I pretended like I was reading ingredients so that I could sit quietly and do a prayer. And so then I
Right.
held the prayer. Okay, remember when I said, may there be an abundance of divine life force energy flowing through me? Let me add to that, may it be attuned perfectly for me. And
Mhm.
and everyone, may everyone's angels attune it perfectly for them. May every item be imbued with this love. So then I finished my little prayer and I put my hands back on the shopping cart and started walking, no more micro shocks. So that was a confirmation that, yes, I was just inviting too much life force energy
Too
to flow
much.
through at once. So then, as I was walking out to the car afterwards, I was noticing, oh my gosh, um, I could see grids of light around every being and
Wow.
everything and every car. And they were just like overlapping on each other and they were intertwined. So it was just really reminding me that how I go through my life can't help but affect others because we're
Right.
all at a certain level
Mhm.
intertwined. That doesn't
Yes.
mean that if people are having a hard day or being grumpy or angry, that I have to let that affect me. But what it
Right.
means is if every day I can remember, emit so much light that
Mhm.
I am going to brighten and lighten the spaces that I go into, that's what's being called back to me. That's what's being magnetized to me. So I
Right.
have, over the course of my life, put effort into being the joyful person that I am now.
Right.
But that
Yes.
doesn't mean that I go through life walking on clouds like there is no hardship in life. There is hardship in life, and I recognize that. But
Yeah.
I can't do any good in this world if I let those hardships pull me down. Instead, I send love, I send light, I recognize the divinity in each person, and then I do my best every day to focus towards what is good and to amplify that.
Yeah. It is. That is such a beautiful, beautiful message. It is. It's so. Even for as we are all going through our lives and trying to bring ourselves to that point every day in every moment. It is such a good reminder just to hear you share how you bring yourself back up, and also how we really do interact with the energy around us. And one of the things I do is teach, help people understand how they can communicate with their loved ones and communicate
Mm,
with others on the other side. And some people need to understand that it really is energy,
right.
and that can help people. And you're bringing up the energy from the micro energy on the cart, just reminds me. I often will say there's energy all around us, and all you need to do is think of what it feels like when we have that static electricity, and that when I say that to people, as I'm sharing that, the energy from our loved ones, uh, it truly is coming in as energy. And I share that about static electricity. They kind of go, oh, we can't
Mhm.
really see static electricity,
Right.
but um, so it is. I think the thing that we just want everyone to learn to be able to do this. But as time runs away from us, as it always does as we're doing this, there's a couple of things that I would love to ask what you would like to share or to leave with everybody as um, something that you'd like them just hear you say at the end. So it's the last thing that they hear. And then after that, I'd love to know how they can work with you and how they can reach you.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. One of the things that I just really am feeling called to share with others right now, each and every one of us were born absolutely perfect. There isn't something that we need to become, we just need to remember. We were born with a divine spark. We are divinity in this world. We are magnificent and beautiful and perfect and holy. And no matter what has happened to us throughout life with cultural conditionings or religious dogmas or belief systems or whatever, we can peel through all of those layers and uncover who we are deep inside simply by remembering, because we truly are beings of light. Because, particles are light, matter is just particles in relation to each other. We are beings of light right now. So I always like to tell people we're already enlightened. We just need to remember this. And once we can remember this and truly live from that point of awareness, we wouldn't be able to be anything else but loving and kind and inclusive and beautiful, because that's what everything is that's here. So that's the main thing I want to leave people with. And you asked me as well how people can interact with me. Is that what you had asked?
yeah, how they can reach you to work
Okay.
with you or to connect with you.
Okay, yeah. So they can find me through my website, CheneeFournier.com, and that will be, I'm sure, on the listener notes,
Yes.
because it's not really spelled phonetically unless you're French.
Yes.
And also, I'm going to actually be on a panel for the Spiritual Awakenings International Conference, June 7th and 8th. And I'm going to be a panelist for there of spiritual experiencers who my particular panel is going to be on shared death experiences. And
Wow.
so, and then I've got lots of podcasts that are on YouTube, and I do have a YouTube channel that I just don't update anymore. But if people want to go and listen to some energy healing, spoken word energy healing meditations, they're all up on my channel. I am also on Instagram. Don't have much activity there either. I just stay busy with other things. But there's various ways people can find me and interact with me. And all of my clients, I see all of them online. So it doesn't matter if you're in Singapore or India or Ireland, you can utilize my services and interact with me. Oh, also, what I forgot to mention earlier is because this world and blending the worlds comes so comfortably to me, and there's nothing that I feel fear about. I started working with people a while ago with mentoring them, because I recognize that for me, this all feels very normal, but to
Mhm.
others, it doesn't feel normal. And so I try to help them recognize that it can feel normal, because what we're doing is uncovering who we
Yes.
really are as spiritual beings. So I love
Yes.
mentoring people as well. And
Yeah.
like you, helping people learn how to converse with their loved ones in spirit, because they
Mhm.
are right here whenever we want them to be. They're not with us 24/7, because no one needs to be with us 24/7. But just like in real physical life, they are here visiting with us when we want them to. They
Yeah.
drop in and check in on us. So whenever they pop into our mind randomly, that's because they're checking in on us.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I love showing people you can do this for yourself. You don't have to use a medium. Although I offer those services,
Right.
everyone can learn to do this for themselves. And I
Yes.
love giving people that power, or reminding, I shouldn't say give them, I love reminding them that that power resides within them.
Yes. And I think I love that you are ending with that, because I think that's so important. And I want um, those that are listening to know that is, we all are able to do this, and it is learning like we have learned to understand that is possible. Sinead, this has been amazing. I know that you and I are going to stay connected.
Yes.
I'm so grateful, and maybe you can even come back on again.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you. I would love that.
yeah, so this has been terrific, and I will put all of your information in the notes,
Okay.
and thank you again so much.
Thank you, Bernadette. And I just want to say thank you so much for being the light in this world that you are. I am just feeling just like this gratitude where I almost feel tearful. I am just so grateful to get to interact with you this way. I'm so grateful we crossed paths.
Yes, yes.